Hey guys, it's aReNGee here. You probably know me from one of my articles on the Eternal Forums, and I've decided to try to move into some more video content. I'm going to start here with a bit of a draft walkthrough, just walking through the picks of what I personally think is good and what I enjoy to draft. Spoiler warning, I really like playing Stone Scar in draft, so you're going to see some Fire and Shadow cards get picked most likely. Let's hop right into it. So with this opening pack, cards that jump out to me personally are, of course, the shadow cards. We've got our Thorn Beast, our Life Drinker, our Stranger. The rare is Steward, which is it's a reasonable card. The ability is not sometimes it's a blowout, but it's not generally that important in draft, so it's just a 4/3. Ruthless Stranger is good if you want an aggressive deck. It's a 2/1. It has some Stranger synergy. Life Drinker's usually just a little bit of a cheap removal spell. Jotun Hurler is a good card, but I don't like Primal very much, so I don't generally end up at it, and I don't like picking it up that early. I like Thorn Beast as a combo card, but it's a cheap pickup and it's easy to get. The rest of the cards, Mithril Mace is good when you know your Justice, but it's a lot of a commitment early on. Traveling Camel I'm not that interested in. Don't need color fixing strangers. This card is just completely, well, usually unplayable, and Ornamental Daggers is not exactly an invitation to go time. Flash Freeze is fine, but you pick it up once you're primal and aggressive, generally. So I'm personally going to go with the Ruthless Stranger first pick. This pack we immediately see, well, a couple good shadow cards. Oblivion Spike is very good if you can enable it. A high health weapon generally gets to kill 2 cheap creatures. So it's certainly something I'm interested in. Whip Chain is okay. It's only +2/+2. Killer's a great ability, but you can get it in time for only 1 power. So it's not exactly a blowout. It's an overcosted weapon, which is unfortunate. You don't generally need that many high drops. Plague alternates between being great and being not that good. You can usually pick off a 1 health target, and reducing their board is quite useful. But it's not the strongest removal spell. I'm more interested in taking this Spike. Minotaur Ambassador is a reasonable card. Um, if you have ways to use the sigils, but it's a double-colored card and it's not something that goes well with our first pick. Wisdom of the Elders is a great primal card, but again, double primal commitment, and I don't like primal that much. Carnage Longsword is a card that's certainly a reasonable pickup here. Goes well with the Ruthless Stranger into Rakano deck, but I really like having access to all the removal spells that Shadow gives, and Oblivion Spike I think is a pretty good card. So I'm going to, now that I think about it, Crownwatch Longsword might actually be the correct pickup here. No, Oblivion Spike combos with Smuggler Stash and the various little sacrifice effects, so I'm going to pick that up. And immediately get past no Justice cards whatsoever, and a whole bunch of Shadow cards. Most of them aren't very good, but this isn't a particularly fantastic pack. Polymorph is a great card, but it's in a couple of different colors. Rapid Shot is a fine pickup if you're aggressive, and the Ruthless Stranger wants to be aggressive. Runic Revolver is slow. It's not that strong a weapon, and we've already got a 5-drop weapon here. Hair Trigger Stranger goes well with Ruthless Stranger, but it's the sort of thing you want to pick up once you're harder into the synergies. Just a 1/1 quick draw isn't that exciting. So I'm going to pick Rapid Shot here. If you want to take Polymorph and Audible into Feln, that's certainly a reasonable option, but keep saying it, don't like Primal very much. Flame Blast is one of the best cards that you can get, especially this late, 4th pick. It's generally a pick 1 to 3 kind of card. It's removal, it's burn, it is triple fire cost, so you have to be sure that you're playing fire, but when you can play it, it's usually great. It deals with all levels of threats, helps do some flood insurance. It's certainly the pick here. Spirit Drain is only hits units, does less damage, much worse card. Privilege of Rank is sort of a constructed combo-y card. The rest of these cards are not in our colors, not that strong. You don't want to play Reinforce. So Flame Blast. Here, Center Outrider is kind of a filler card. This isn't a very exciting pack for us. Venom Fang Dagger is not a card that most people usually play without a good reason. Spirit Drain is just very mediocre removal. You don't really want 6 drops in your deck, especially if you're trying to be aggressive. Rampage plays well into the aggressive plan and is a reasonable trick. We've already got Rapid Shot, so it becomes less valuable, but I think it's the best card out of the ones that we have presented to us here. Gilded Glaive is certainly a good card, but we've already got a couple of Fire and Shadow cards, and Granite Acolyte is a reasonable pickup. People don't like Back Alley Bouncer or Pyre Up all that much. I personally do, but I can find you can pick them up pretty late. Granite Acolyte is pretty good with any of the Shadow Flyers. It combos with Sharpshooter and Xenon Destroyer, 2 very powerful commons, so I like picking them up pretty early. Here we got one of my favorite Shadow cards, Dark Return. It takes your best creatures and brings them back for another round for only a single power. I'm definitely going to pick it up here. Don't need a second Rapid Shot when we already have the Rampage, and Ghost Form is not usually worth a card. You need a very specific deck for Ghost Form to be good. Here, hate drafting isn't very useful when you don't know who you're going to be playing against or when your packs are actually going to get picked, so I'll just pick up the Dire Ward Rampager just in case. Guerrilla Fighter's a pretty reasonable 4-drop to have this late in the draft. It's not the strongest card, but it's reasonable filler, and I'm happy to have it. Torrent of Spiders. You can usually get about 2 spiders from this. In the mid to late game, which isn't the most impressive. Sometimes you just have to play it as a 3-mana Deadly Spider. That's not very exciting. Whereas Stonescar Stranger fixes our influence requirements, and it does combo with Ruthless Stranger. I haven't been too impressed with Torrent. I think I'm just going to pick the Stranger for color fixing. We do have some relatively high requirements with the double shadow and the triple fire. So I think I'm just going to pick up the Stranger here. Back color Bouncy, I'm happy to have last pick. And we move on to the next pack. So what do we have here? We have Smuggler's Stash. That combos pretty well with the Sword from Granite Acolyte and Oblivion Spike, as well as just our other guys. Gives us some good late game with Flame Blast, Dark Return. Now we just need some removal. Combust does serve that purpose, but we don't really have anything good to sacrifice to it yet. And Smuggler's Stash is quite a good card. The foil Direwood Rampager is a clear upgrade over the non-foil Direwood Rampager, but we'll save that for later picks in the draft. I think I'm going to take Stash here and see if we can draft a bit of a longer game deck. Oh, and here we have the true conundrum and the true problem with playing Stonescar at times. You are spoiled for choice with picks. Rebel Sharpshooter is a great card in the archetype, but not even worth talking about here. We have Annihilate and we have Torch, and both of them are fantastic cards. Fast spells, kill everything, cheap, excellent cards. Now as for which one's better in this deck, we have the Flame Blast for burn, and we have the Smuggler's Stash plus Oblivion Spike combo to play the late game. So I believe that in this particular situation, I would pick up the Annihilate. If this was pack one, pick one, that would also be close. In a more aggressive deck, you want the Torch because it can go face, and it's easier to play 2 cards in 1 turn for more tempo efficiency. But in a slower deck, you want Annihilate's ability to deal with larger creatures. And we don't have any Death Strikes or anything right now, so I'm just going to pick up the Annihilate as fantastic premier removal. Regardless of which ones of these you pick, you're going to be happy. They're very good cards. And now we get handed a Promethean Maul. Stonescar Maul, the name has been changed. Stonescar Maul is usually just removal. Sometimes you bonk through for a bit of damage, but usually it's just a 6 damage removal spell that does a bit to your opponent. And it's really good with Smuggler Stash. Obviously these high cost weapons are good, and it's just an overall good card. We're shaping up well for a more controlling style of Stone Scar rather than a aggressive one. The Rapid Shot and Rampage won't be as good, but if we can pick up good cards to replace them, we'll be fine. Whew. Feeding Time is one of the few reasons I like playing Felon, because it's a very good removal spell. And might be worth considering splashing if we can get some of the strangers. But the mana fixing isn't usually there, but ticking Grenadin. It's only exciting if you have the sacrifice synergies, and it's not really the thing that you want to be sacrificing in a more controlling deck. So I'm gonna pick up Feeding Time just in the side chance that we end up turning in that direction. Here we have a bunch of cards that aren't in our color and a banner that is. We'll just pick up the banner here, help our fixing. Again, we have high requirements with the double influence and the triple on the Flame Blast. So happy to pick that up. Here we have the Seek power if we wanted to make the Feeding Time happen. But I think in this case I'd rather have the Burnout. It's damage. It can use any cheap sacrifice creatures that we do pick up to good effect. And it's a removal spell. It does grant card disadvantage, so it's better in the aggressive decks, but I think it's a power enough card over Seek power to be worth taking here. Greed's Reward is not the card that you want in your deck, just because by the time that you get to the power to play it, most draft decks will only have 1, 2 at most cards in hand, and paying 6 power for 4 damage directly to the player is not very exciting. Daze is fine in an aggressive deck, which it does not look like we are, so by process of elimination we're going to take Dusthoof Brawler as the only playable card. Although this guy is a lot better than the 4-mana 5/2, the Centaur Outrider. Overwhelm makes him a lot more likely to impact the board. Still not a very exciting card. Recalculator is the kind of card that you want to pick up as sacrifice fodder, since it gives you an advantage. Him and the Stone Scar Magus. Well, here we pick up a Feln banner to go with that Feeding Time. It's not quite the pipe dream to play it, but I'd need something else that I wanted to play in Feln in order to really commit to this. Splashing for a single removal spell doesn't seem worth the decreased consistency. Take the Venifan Dagger as the only card in our color. Swiftblade, sure. And some Chaff. Now here, we're offered a second Feeding Time, which I think I might probably take, honestly. Sparring Partner, we don't have any we have one non-relic weapon to go with it. Not really that consistent. Brood Beetle's a good card, but you, again, need to be aggressive to really want it. You don't really want to be top decking a 1-drop on turn 5, 6, 7. And Feeding Time is quite the card. I think out of this particular pack, because it's so weak in our actual colors, we take the Feeding Time and we think a lot more heavily about enabling it. Here again, we're offered a choice. There's the Stone Scar Magus that I mentioned that's quite good sacrifice fodder. There's another Ruthless Stranger if we wanted to be more aggressive again. But I think we are turning into more of a control deck, especially picking up that second Feeding Time that we wanted to play. So here I'm going to take the Magus and probably going to start cutting some of these higher cost cards. Magus is quite good, especially with Dark Return. Bringing it back, its effect is quite powerful because it can trade with other 4 toughness creatures just by blocking and using the effect, and it can spread it around, trade with 2/2/2s. It's pretty versatile, especially when combined with something like Burnout. It's not hard to turn sacrificing Magus into a 2-for-2. Now we're offered a second Torrent, which is more interesting this time since we're just looking to gum up the board, and 2 banners, which would help us cast our cards. Second Felon Banner is kind of interesting here. Torna Spider still isn't that exciting. We don't have any great ways to toss a whole bunch of cards into the void. So let's pick up the Felon Banner here and see what we can do about these feeding times. Ornate Katana is probably the card here. We have Smugglers if we want to use it. It cycles, and it can help our early drops trade up. Amethyst Acolyte is not a very exciting card, regardless of what deck you're playing. So we'll take the Katana. And we already have a Direwood Rampager, don't really want a second one. So I guess we'll take a second Katana. And these cards are leaning us back towards the aggressive bent. Scavenging Vulture is a little bit better than Amethyst Acolyte, still not very exciting. Dark Wisp is, I think, a card that we're looking for, something that cycles, something that provides sacrifice fodder later on. We're really looking for more shadow removal to prevent us from needing to splash all of that Feln. Suffocate, great removal spell. Definitely what we want here. Very lucky to see it with 5 cards left, so we're going to take it. Ticking Grenadin or another Rapid Shot. With the Rampage already, I don't really want 3 tricks like this, so I'm just going to take the Grenadin here. Amethyst Acolyte is just not a very exciting card. Hellfire Rifle is playable in some situations, but only if you really need to. Another Scavenging Vulture. So what do we have here? Rebel Illuminator is another card that you really want to be bouncing with Dark Return and returning with Smuggler Stash and sacrificing for value. So it's the first thing that I look at. There's also a Grasping at Shadows, but we don't have anything particularly exciting to return. Subvert usually gets you a Sigil. Pit Fighter is okay. It trades with basically everything. And again, dies to most removal spells. Second Ruthless Stranger could have been our third if we wanted to go that aggressive route, but since we've gone a more controlling style, Rebel Illuminator is almost certainly the pick. Subtle Stranger, not really a card. Lethray Falchion is probably the pickup. We've got a lot of 4-drops now and a lot of weapons, which makes Smuggler's Stash better. But we don't really have anything good to put them on yet. I think is a little bit better than Temper. Temper is starting to become more attractive as I look for early game removal spells to tide us over until we can play our great cards. Our 4-drop slot is also getting kind of over saturated. Rally, not the deck. Blazing Renegade. Very, very rarely is there a deck for this card. 3-1 charge quick draw is not really where you want to be for 5 power. It's exciting for 2 power or even 3 power, but 5 is a little much for those few stats. So, Lethray Falchion. Here we're offered a Thorn Beast, second Burnout, and a Centaur Raid Leader. Centaur Raid Leader is okay, but it's expensive and we have a lot of early game. Ravenous Thorn Beast combines well with our various sacrifice cards, especially stuff like Dark Wisp, and our Dark Return, and gives us some good early game stuff to actually put our various weapons on. So I'm going to take the Thorn Beast here. We don't need Burnout because we're already talking about splashing the extra feeding times, and we have a bunch of removal already, and Burnout is not card advantage. Whereas Thorn Beast, in a pinch, can just be a 3 power 3/3. That's kind of what our deck wants right now, just more dudes to hold all our weapons. Here, there's a bunch of non-color cards and a back alley bouncer. So, Torrent raises its ugly head for the 3rd time. Really wants to be in our deck, I think. But with all of our sacrifice cards, we're going to take the combust, and it's looking like we don't actually need to splash the feeding times. We've got enough removal. But just in case, we'll take a third Felon Banner. Song of War, not really a card. Rest of these cards, not really cards either. Diplomatic Seal is somewhat interesting. But not strictly necessary. Blood Beetle, good with aggressive. Recogulator, probably better now that we've picked up a few more sacrifice combos. Our 4-drop is very saturated, though. Yeah, in the interest of playing some more early game threats, we're going to pick up the Blood Beetle. Felon Banner number 4. Alchemical Blast sometimes makes the cut. And these are some... Okay, so there were 5 Felon Banners this draft, which is interesting. Ruthless Stranger's okay. Rampage, probably not what we want. Guerrilla Fighter, probably not what we want. So let's start cutting cards. Dustuff Brawler, Spirit Drain, Guerrilla Fighter, might cut some amount of bouncers. Scavenging Vulture gets more interesting with multiple katanas than the Falchion. We may be able to actually go aggressive a bit. Go a bit aggressive. Don't need Ticking Grenadin. We've got a bunch of other stuff. Combust, Dark Return I like. I like Rapid Shot more than Rampage, so I'm going to take Rampage first. Granite Acolyte on Scavenging Vulture, okay. So these are cards that look like they might actually make our deck. And then we've already got a Stone Scar banner. So we add power, and what does that put us at? That puts us at 19 power. With this kind of deck, I'd be happy playing 18, which means we can actually put one more card back in. Something late game, something early game. I like having a relatively low curve with a couple of cards like Smuggler's Stash and Oblivion Spike to close out the game. Just because it helps you not you can't always build a nice curve in draft. Like for example, we have no 3-drops, so we want to really be using those early game cards to tide us over until we get there. Do we just want an Alchemical Blast as some multi-purpose removal? What do we have for removal? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright. We've got 5 pieces of dedicated removal, so we probably don't need Alchemical Blast. It would be redundant. We're playing all our bouncers and things. Not really what you want. Guerrilla Fighter is just another 4. The pick may actually be just taking Grenadin as an extra 1-drop. It blocks, it gives us an advantage, and it combos really well with Burnout. So I think that's what we're going to go with. I could be wrong. Playing may make me decide that I like Rampage better, but as a 45th card, I think Ticking Grenadin is going to be good enough to make the cut. Yeah, something cheap that goes in for Oblivion Spike. Okay, I can buy it. So here's the final deck. We'll see how it performs.